Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. This is the TAFA and mostly fundamental analysis for February 11th, 2022. Now, today, Bitcoin did go down, but altcoins tanked a lot more. As you can see here, Bitcoin's only 1.67, and a lot of the altcoins tanked somewhere between 5 and 10%. And that is a lot of tanking that we're actually doing here, right? So why is that? Well, I think there is institutional interest in Bitcoin, and that's kind of keeping it afloat a little bit more than altcoins. Bitcoin actually went up both today and yesterday before some bad reports actually got it down. The CPI report was bad yesterday, and then there's this new Russia-Ukraine thing. Plus, there's an emergency Fed meeting on Monday. That can only mean bad things. And I think they have this emergency Fed meeting because of the CPI. It was 0.3 greater than what we actually expected. And I do believe that there is a very good chance that they will actually raise interest rates on Monday, which would shock the entire system. Now, raising interest rates generally does slow down business growth. It will affect crypto as well. Also, more people are ditching risk assets like stocks and Bitcoin, and they're buying treasury bonds. Treasury bonds only have a return of about 2% right now, but this is the first time they've actually risen above 2% in many, many years. And I do believe they will continue to rise up, probably to more than 3% in the year to come, because they are going to actually hike interest rates. Plus, the Russia-Ukraine situation is actually heating up again. Both Russia and Ukraine says there's not going to be an invasion, but there's more troops on the border now with Russia, and Ukraine still is trying to pacify things. But the U.S., the U.K., and many other countries have told their people to get the hell out of there. So that's really raising tensions. And energy prices have actually shot up today because of the ongoing tensions with Russia. Europe depends a lot on Russian energy. So right now, that's what's forcing everything down. All the markets are down. The Dow is down, the Nasdaq is down, and the S&P 500 is actually down. So right now, the Nasdaq actually went down by a lot. So eventually that dragged crypto down as well. So the uncertainty in the market caused by Russia, and I think especially the Fed emergency meeting, has really dampened prospects. And I think we're very, very bearish going into the weekend. I'm actually very surprised that Bitcoin did not fall below 40,000 a day. I do expect Bitcoin at 40,000 either this weekend or sometime into the next week, unless the Fed meeting is all flowers and daisies, which is not very likely because they wouldn't have an emergency meeting if everything was fine. Only if inflation rates were really bad, which they are, or there's some big economic turmoil, which there actually might be. So right now, like I said, Bitcoin's still several thousand higher than where we were just a week ago. You can see the bathtub right here. On January 20th, we dumped down, and then on February 4th, we came back up. Now we're kind of at this neckline area again, and this is kind of a breakpoint line of, are we going to go back down into the 30,000s, or can we rise up in the upper 40,000s? If you asked me last week, I would have said we could rise up in the upper 40,000s, but with the Russia situation, and especially with the emergency Fed meeting and the inflation rates, I think we're going back down into the 30s. So if you're planning to buy or sell, I would definitely wait until after Monday, because I think bad things can be happening. I mean, if you think that good things are going to happen Monday, then I would buy a little bit and then wait for the rest, because the sentiment right now, the direction, I think it's kind of going down, because like I said, emergency Fed meeting, very, very bad, ominous sign. Russia, very bad, ominous sign, despite Russia and Ukraine saying nothing's actually going to happen. I mean, I think people are going to be scared because all the allied countries basically are saying, get your people out of there. So that's what I'm actually looking at right now. In terms of the charts, sure, overall, if you look at the 3 month, or even the 1 month, yes, we're on an upward trend basically since late January, but that doesn't really mean much right now because it can easily turn on a dime. So essentially on the 1 day technical analysis, everything is actually neutral. Momentum and MACD are both buy at this point, but the problem is all the oscillators are actually pretty neutral. So it's actually a fairly neutral signal. On the moving averages, pretty much we are getting a couple of sells now in the smaller time frames because we've been in the same area for a while, and 42,000 is a little bit lower than where we've been. And I think like when we get into the weekend and get into Monday, you'll see more sell signals. So like I said last week, last week I said, when we go into next week and out towards the end of next week, it's a buy. But now this week is over, obviously, and we have bad headwinds from both the CPI, the Fed, and Russia. So I'm going to say it's like based on everything plus the technical analysis, it is a sell. Now, I'd be very surprised if we move past 45,000 next week because of all the headwinds. I would not be surprised if we dumped to 35,000. So definitely like right now, I personally would not buy if I was choosing buy or sell. I think like for 6 months and a year, I think like the 6 month period is still okay. Year period is definitely okay. I think like a lot of the inflation worries will actually subside. I actually don't think Russia's going to attack, but I think like a lot of the inflation worries are going to subside by mid-year, and the inflation is going to start to come down because of the Fed interest rate hikes. Remember, in the 80s, we were actually much worse. We had high inflation, we had high unemployment, and we already had high interest rates. Today, we have low interest rates, high inflation, and low unemployment. So we're much better than we are then, but we haven't seen inflation like this in about 40 years. So that's why people are actually scared. For the weekly, if you really look at it, it's all sell right now. The oscillators are neutral, but all the averages are sell. We had to get above 45,000, and that just wasn't going to happen with all the headwinds we've actually come. Now, there is a small chance that like the Fed meeting isn't that bad. Russia doesn't attack, and then like the institutional buying actually pulls Bitcoin up because there are a lot of institutions coming in, namely like BlackRock, maybe even some states. Maybe that'll counter it, but that's only a very, very small possibility. Next week, the next 2 weeks, I would say are pretty much going to be negative at this point, at least next week. So definitely like on the weekly, short term, definitely not a buy. I think like I would have to stretch it out to be like, 12, 13, 14 weeks before I can actually see a buy on the weekly. Monthly, same thing. 1 month, definitely like for me, not a buy. Oscillators are about neutral, but like 1 month, definitely not a buy. Even 2, 3, 4 months. I think like less than 6 months right now, based on the situation, I wouldn't say it's a buy. Because the energy crisis thing, like the tensions with Russia might actually last a while, but the inflation and the supply chain problems are probably not going to go away until mid-year. And we might actually be until mid-year before we really see more relief from the consumer side of things. So realistically, that's where we are right now. It's definitely more of a seller's market. And if you're playing futures, probably shorting is the best idea. I don't play futures, but I would definitely say it's more of a short than a long at this point. But like everyone is probably thinking the same thing, and the fat cats might just pull a fast one on us. So that's kind of my view on it right now. I think the consumer sentiment right now and the market sentiment is very, very negative because of the Fed emergency meeting, because of Russia, and because of the CPI. And I don't really see too much turning that around. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.